your own notebooks. So paste this there.
Comment the URL while you're at it.
Yeah. A comment to this URL, the pastebin URL?
The URL with the data.
Oh, yeah.
Also listed.
Yeah, I'll actually put it right into the notebook so we can keep it there. It's like magic. I love iPython. All right, so here's our pastebin. Maybe VA3, GVV82. I'm also going to paste that right into this view here that we're all seeing. Let's call this. There. So, what we're going to paste, let's go ahead and put that here. As you can see, we've got our red line stations, blue line stations, green line stations, and orange line stations here. A fun little anecdote here, I changed the order around by mistake on one of those stations, and it made it end up looking like a lot of people were going to Fields Corner Station, and I was very confused as to why people were going to Fields Corner at 3 in the morning, and it was a very strange moment for me because I couldn't figure out until I went back to my array here and realized that I put it in the wrong spot. All right. So the next step that we're going to do, right here to get the arrays created, is we're actually going to trim our data frame to look at only the MBTA lines, the subway lines rather. So this command right here is basically saying that we are going to take our data frame and we're going to filter it and say that, all right, we're going to filter it so that the line is one of these 4 lines, red, blue, green, or I line. Sorry, those of you who came off the silver line, you're living too far away. Right, so everyone kind of following along so far, getting there? Oh, this is getting out of the way here. Let's keep this. Best way for me to keep this data here. I have an idea. Late night route 1, they're all treated as late night route 1. Our line, our station, day of week, be like 10 o'clock. And put in my group statement down here. Just put it right here. We're going to call the new grouped by data frame grouped, G-R-O-U-P-E-D, equals strings only dot by. Boost up the font size here. No, that's the wrong one, sorry. There it is. Grouping by line, route station, and transaction hour. And as index is going to equal to false. So let me explain this. So, by the station and by hour. The as index field here means that none of those fields that we're using or that group we're grouping against is going to be considered the index. Usually when you have an index, you want to put in something that is just a unique variable or unique identifier for that index. Oftentimes it would be something like the transaction ID if you're doing transactions or financial transactions. But we don't have to worry about that. Our data frame is pretty small. We're not going to be referencing anything by a unique index value. That's why I have as underscore index equals false. So hit play. Oh. And then if I look at group this time, it actually creates a group by object. I'm sorry about that. I need to take the group by object and reconvert it into data frames. So, in order to do that, we'll just do that for one data frame. We'll start with the red line. So red line equals grouped, keeping the group by, but it didn't know what to do grouping. So what we wanted to do is group it so that we sum only.group by line route station trx hour, and then you have the transactions.sum. So you actually group. That should solve our problem with that not being a data frame. So if I go into grouped, I'll see it there. And here we have everything grouped by line, route station. I'll take all of these stations and put them into a new paste bin so you guys can use that. I'm trying to save you a lot of time typing here. Yes. Okay. Well, individual lines. All right. Next up, we're going to be digging back to the recesses of our brain and pull up some old-fashioned linear algebra. So those of you who forgot what matrices were or don't remember how to use matrices or really where we re-indexed everything, all of these station names are in alphabetical order. So when we actually end up pulling our visualization out, we'll still get the same data that we need. ParkStreet still has the vast majority. Now, one thing I will say is that I was not very good at naming my variables, so I immediately apologize for that. I realize when you have a variable named RF and RDF, and they're not very descriptive. So we've made that reindex, and here we go. We've got our station names in the appropriate order that we want to, and we've got our hours going from 10 o'clock all the way down to 2 a.m. So yes, in the case of the MBTA data set, they did not reset 24-hour time into the next day. They just added another integer on top of it. So this is actually 1 a.m. This is actually 2 a.m. And we'll reflect that in the actual visualization that we end up putting together. So we've established our set of data frames to being the source of our visualization. What I'm going to do now, give you guys the commands to take not only the blue line stations, but also lines and green lines and orange lines. And that's here. I'm going to call this the reindex. And I'm just going to paste the pivot in there as well, so you guys can have that. There's a reindex, and before that, you got to pivot them. You can run both of those in the same block. It shouldn't be an issue. So there's this. Ow. All right, so we've got our stations grouped here. I'm going to go ahead and just group everything. So before we did that, repivot everything for all 4 stations, and also reindex for all 4 stations. We're going to start working on, so the first thing we're going to do RGF for red line, blue line, green line, and orange line. Blue line, green line, t.cm.reds. I could go into a deep discussion as to what all of these mean, but essentially these are shades of red that are provided by Matplotlib. So they're really handy for when you're building something like a heat map and you don't want to actually define the colors yourself. You can use these built-in colors. Similarly, we'll go into blues, plt.cm.blues, plt.cm.greens, and finally plt.cm. Another array that we're going to be calling